air was filled with laughter and the sweet smell of vanilla frosting. I, Emily, stood in the corner of my sister Ava's baby shower, feeling more isolated than ever. My husband, Alex, mingled with guests, his laughter a distant echo in my ears. I picked at the icing on a cupcake, my thoughts drifting. Alex and I had been trying to conceive for over a year, with no success. Each month brought new hope, and with it crushing disappointment. Suddenly, I overheard Alex's voice, laced with sarcasm. "I want kids," he said, a hint of mockery in his tone. My heart sank. Those words, seemingly innocent or a dagger to my heart. I approached him, trying to keep my voice steady. "They're right in front of you," I said, gesturing towards the children playing nearby. Alex turned, his eyes meeting mine. "Ups, Emily, you know what I mean," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, but sharp enough to cut through the noise. Our eyes locked in a silent battle. His words were a stark reminder of our struggle, a burden that weighed heavily on me. I felt a surge of anger, frustration, and sadness. "Why must you always bring this up, especially here?" I hissed, my voice trembling. Alex shrugged, his indifference like a slap in the face. "It's the truth, isn't it?" he said, turning away to join a group of guests. I stood there, a myriad of emotions swirling inside me. His words echoed in my mind, each syllable a painful reminder of our unfulfilled dreams. As I watched him laugh and joke with others, a sense of loneliness engulfed me. The cheerful atmosphere of the baby shower felt like a cruel joke. I was surrounded by happiness, yet it felt so far out of reach. I excused myself and stepped outside, the cool air a sharp contrast to the warmth inside. The laughter and music faded into the background as I fought back tears. "Why can't it be less?" I whispered to the empty sky. The question hung in the air, unanswered. Actually, the pain of infertility was a silent struggle, one that Alex seemed unable to understand or support me through. I knew in that moment that something had to change. I couldn't continue like this, trapped in a cycle of hope and heartbreak. But the path forward was unclear, shrouded in uncertainty and fear. As I stood there, lost in my thoughts, I made a silent vow. I would find a way through this with or without Alex. I refused to let his words define me or our future. I would be strong, for myself and for the family I so desperately longed for. An invisible barrier existed between us. At least the memories of my childhood crept into my mind uninvited. Growing up without parents, it had always been just Ava and me, but even then I felt a deep sense of isolation. Ava, with her vibrant personality, made friends easily, while I, the quieter twin, often felt overshadowed and alone. As I chopped vegetables for dinner, my thoughts drifted to the possibility of motherhood. That the longing to hold my child, to give them the love I had yearned for, was overwhelming. But doubts clouded my mind. How could someone like me, who had never known a mother's love, be a good parent? My reverie was broken by Alex's voice. "What's for dinner?" he called out, his tone indifferent. Just some pasta, I replied, my voice barely audible over the chopping. Alex didn't respond, and I didn't expect him to. Our conversations had become mere formalities, lacking warmth and connection. Dinner was a quiet affair, the sound of cutlery against plates the only accompaniment. We ate in silence, the distance between us growing with each passing moment. After dinner, I found myself alone in the living room, staring at the empty chair where Alex usually sat. The silence was deafening, a stark reminder of the growing gap in our marriage. I thought about our struggle to conceive, how it had consumed us, turning our love into a battleground of blame and resentment. Alex's earlier words at the baby shower replayed in my mind, a cruel reminder of our failure. The tears welled up in my eyes as I realized how far we had drifted apart. The man I had married, who once brought so much joy and laughter into my life, now felt like a stranger. I wiped my tears, refusing to let despair take hold. I had to be strong for my own sake. I couldn't let my dreams of motherhood be shattered by circumstances or Alex's insensitivity. As I sat there, a new resolve began to take shape within me. I would not let my past define my future. I would find a way to fulfill my dreams to create the family I longed for, even if it meant walking that path alone. The night grew darker, and the house settled into a deep silence, mirroring the void in my heart. Yet amidst the darkness, a flicker of hope remained, a guiding light towards a new beginning. The next few weeks passed in a blur of routine and silence. As the distance between Alex and me grew, our interactions were limited to necessary exchanges. Actually, it was during this period of estrangement that my sister Ava decided to visit, unannounced on a particularly dreary evening. I was in the kitchen, lost in thought, when the doorbell rang. Keeping my hands on my apron, I opened the door to find Ava standing there, her presence as commanding as ever. "Eva, what a surprise," I said, masking my unease with a polite smile. "I just thought I'd drop by," she replied, breezing past me into the house. "I've been feeling lonely since you got married. You know how it is." Her words stung, a reminder of the void that had grown between us since my marriage. Eva had always been the more outgoing twin. Her life was a series of social gatherings and adventures. Yet in contrast, my life had become increasingly insular, focused on my failing marriage and the unfulfilled dream of motherhood. As Eva settled herself on the couch, her eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. She had a way of making her presence felt, her energy filling the space around her. "So, how's married life treating you?" "It's fine," I replied, avoiding her eyes. "Just the usual ups and downs."
There was laughter filled the room, a sound that once brought me comfort but now seemed to mock my situation. "You always were the optimistic one," she said, "but tell me, any luck with, starting a family?"
Her question hit me like a physical blow. For ease, the one area of my life I had hoped to keep private was now under Ava's scrutiny. "No, not yet," I said, my voice barely a whisper.
Ava's expression softened, but there was a glint in her eye that I couldn't quite place. Don't worry, it'll happen when it's meant to. She said her words meant to be comforting, but feeling more like a dismissal of my pain.
Urtiterieseftel or mixed stations, Twilling's eightening past a tatter, of a dominating the conversation with stories of her latest adventures and conquests. I listened, a part of me envious of her carefree life, so starkly different from my own. As she left, Ava turned to me, her expression serious for once. You know, you can always talk to me about anything, right? We're sisters after all. Her words were meant to reassure, but they left me feeling more isolated than ever. Ava, with her vibrant life and easy confidence, couldn't possibly understand the depths of my struggle. That night, as I lay in bed next to Alex, his back turned to me, I realized how alone I truly was. My marriage was a shell of what it once was, and my sister, for all her declarations of sisterly love, was an outsider to my pain. But amidst the loneliness, a spark of determination ignited within me. I refused to be a victim of my circumstances. I would find a way to change my life, to break free from the chains of despair and build a future filled with hope and happiness. And so, as the moon cast a pale light through the window, I made a silent vow to myself. I would no longer allow my dreams to be crushed by the weight of others' expectations and judgments. I would fight for my happiness, no matter what it took. 8 months trickled by, carrying with them a mixture of anticipation and dread. The day that should have been the happiest of my life was approaching my wedding day. The thought of marrying Alex, once a source of boundless joy, now filled me with unease. Appearing on the morning of the wedding, I dressed in a simple, elegant gown, tailored to my modest tastes. It was adorned with delicate embroidery, a testament to my love for understated beauty. As I gazed at my reflection, I felt a pang of sorrow for the love that once was, now lost in a sea of unspoken words and unfulfilled dreams. The ceremony was set in a quaint local church, be chosen for its intimacy and charm. As I waited in the dressing room, my heart heavy with unspoken fears, the door burst open. Eva strode in, her presence overwhelming. As always, "Congratulations, Emily," Ava exclaimed, her voice filled with feigned excitement. My eyes widened in disbelief as I took in her attire, a white dress stark against the modest setting of the church. "Eva, you can't wear white to someone else's wedding," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief.
Oh, I didn't mean to overshadow you. I just fell in love with this dress. Her words stung, a deliberate provocation hidden behind a veneer of concern. When she said,
Eva had always craved the spotlight, and today was no exception. As the ceremony began, I walked down the aisle, my steps heavy with the weight of my doubts. Eva's presence in white felt like a blatant disregard for my feelings, a reminder of the imbalance in our relationship. Today, the reception that followed was a blur of faces and congratulations. I felt disconnected, a spectator at my own wedding.
In her speech, Ava painted a picture of me as a lonely, friendless woman, her words laced with pity and condescension.
The guests chuckled, unaware of the true nature of her words. After the reception, I confronted Eva in the dressing room, my emotions a whirlwind of anger and hurt. "Why would you say those things, Eva?" I asked, my voice shaking with emotion. Eva laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Oh, Emily, don't take it so seriously. I was just trying to lighten the mood," she said, her dismissive attitude cutting deep, a sharp reminder of how little she understood my pain. As the guests departed, I was left with a sense of profound emptiness. Yesterday on my wedding, which should have been a celebration of love and commitment, had turned into a charade, overshadowed by Ava's selfishness and Alex's indifference. That night, as I lay in bed next to my new husband, I felt more alone than ever. The joy of my wedding day had been tainted, leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. Yet, amidst the darkness, a new resolve formed within me. I would no longer allow Ava or Alex to dictate my happiness. I would find a way to reclaim my life, to seek the joy and fulfillment that I deserved. And so, as the moon shone through the window, casting a soft glow on my wedding ring, I made a silent vow. I would no longer be a passive bystander in my own life. I would take control, forge my own path, and find the happiness that had eluded me for so long. The months following my wedding were a tumultuous blend of hope and despair. Alex and I drifted further apart, our marriage a mere fad. It was during this time of silent suffering that I uncovered a truth so devastating it threatened to shatter my world. Added with a hunch, a nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach that something was amiss. Ava's visits had become more frequent, her presence in our home more intrusive. I noticed the way Alex's eyes followed Hera look I had once believed was reserved for me. Driven by a growing suspicion, I decided to confront the truth head-on. Was it no pits of people and pranced? When I knew Ava would be visiting, I left the house under the pretense of running errands. Instead, I parked my car a block away and waited. 3 hours passed, each minute stretching into an eternity of doubt and fear. Agitated dance, then I saw Themelix and Ava emerging from our house, their laughter echoing down the street. My heart sank as I watched them, their closeness unmistakable. Fueled by a mixture of anger and heartbreak, I followed them discreetly. My worst fears were confirmed when they entered a local hotel, their arms entwined, oblivious to the world around them. I felt numb, the reality of their betrayal slicing through me like a knife. The man I had married and the sister I had trusted were entwined in a scandalous affair. Over the next few days, I wrestled with my emotions, a storm of anger, betrayal, and sorrow raging within me. The pain of their deceit was unbearable, but it also ignited a fire in my soul, a desire for justice, for retribution. As armed with evidence of their affair, I planned my confrontation carefully. At a family gathering with Alex, Eva, and our closest relatives present, I revealed the truth. "I know about you and Ava," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I've seen you together at the hotel." The room fell silent, the air thick with tension. Alex and Eva exchanged panicked glances, their parade crumbling under the weight of my accusation. This is absurd. Alex stammered, but his eyes betrayed his guilt. Ava's composure cracked, her usual confidence replaced by a look of fear. "Emily, you're mistaken," she pleaded, but her words rang hollow. The evidence I presented was irrefutable photos of them together, receipts from the hotel. The truth was laid bare for all to see. In that moment, I watched as the mask of deceit fell from their faces, their true selves exposed. The pain of their betrayal was immense, but it was overshadowed by a sense of empowerment. I'd uncovered the truth, and in doing so, I had taken the first step towards reclaiming my life. As the gathering erupted into chaos, with relatives voicing their shock and disgust, I stood tall, a sense of vindication washing over me. Alex and Ava had shattered my world, but I was determined to pick up the pieces and move forward, stronger than before. My trust had been shattered, but they would not break my spirit. That night, as I lay in bed, the events of the day replaying in my mind, I knew that my journey was just beginning. I passed the areas to question. I had exposed the truth, but the path to healing and retribution was long and uncertain. But one thing was clear: I would no longer be a victim of their deceit. I would rise from the ashes of their betrayal, stronger and more determined than ever. But the weeks following the revelation of Alex and Ava's affair were a blur of emotion and tumultuous change. My marriage to Alex, already strained and hollow, crumbled under the weight of his betrayal. Amidst the chaos, I discovered that Ava and Alex Wicks were planning to marry, a fact that stung with fresh betrayal. As the day of their wedding approached, I grappled with a storm of emotions. And so the desire for revenge burned within me, an ember of anger and hurt that refused to be extinguished. I couldn't let them have their perfect day, not after they had destroyed mine. Dressed in the same gown I had worn at my own wedding, I made my way to the grand church where Ava and Alex's wedding was being held. I moved through the crowd of over 100 guests, my presence unnoticed amidst the celebration. To that permit tears, as the ceremony progressed, a plan formed in my mind, a way to expose their deceit to the world. A show announcement was made, a video message from Alex's parents who couldn't attend. The screen lit up, and there they were, their faces stern and disapproving. John and Ava's expressions turned to shock as the video played. "We do not accept this marriage," Alex's father declared, his voice echoing through the church. "These two are immoral cheaters." The crowd erupted into murmurs and gasps, the festive atmosphere turning to one of scandal and disbelief. Alex tried to dismiss the message as a joke, but the damage was done. Seizing the moment, I stepped forward, removing the cardigan I had worn to conceal my wedding dress. "It's true," I said, my voice carrying through the stunned silence. First, I scattered photos of Ava and Alex's affair around the venue, evidence of their betrayal for all to see. The guests recoiled in shock, their expressions a mix of disbelief and disgust. I looked around at the chaos I had unleashed, a sense of bittersweet satisfaction washing over me. I had exposed their deceit, tarnishing their perfect day as they had mine. But as I left the church, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had exacted my revenge, but the journey ahead was still uncertain. I needed to rebuild my life, to find a way to heal from the wounds of betrayal. But as I stepped out into the sunlight, I felt a glimmer of hope. The path ahead was mine to forge, and I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. This exciting aftermath of Ava and Alex's scandal-ridden wedding, I found myself at a crossroads. Actually, the satisfaction of having exposed their betrayal was fleeting, replaced by a sense of emptiness. I had lost not only my marriage, but also my trust in others. However, I knew that I had the strength to move forward and start anew. I had lost not just a husband, but a sister, and the pain of that loss was profound. The days that followed were a time of reflection. I pondered over the events that had led me here, the choices I had made, and the people I had trusted. The world I had known was shattered, but in its place I found an opportunity to rebuild, to create a life that was truly mine. This news of Ava and Alex's affair spread quickly, fueled by the scandal at their wedding. They became pariahs, their reputations tarnished by their own actions. Ava's friends, many of whom had attended the wedding, distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with the fallout. Alex and Ava tried to salvage what was left of their relationship, but the foundation they had built it on was fragile and broken. For their love, if it could even be called that, was a mere shadow tainted by deceit and infidelity. As for me, I took solace in solitude. I found strength in my independence, in the knowledge that I had faced my deepest fears and emerged stronger. That the betrayal had scarred me, but it had also awakened a resilience I never knew I had. I began to forge a new path on those guided by my own desires and ambitions. I reconnected with old friends, people who had been pushed aside during my tumultuous marriage. I discovered a sense of community and support that I had longed for, but never truly experienced. I also dove into new interests and hobbies, things I had always wanted to try but never had the time or courage to pursue. I found joy in the simple things, in moments of peace and contentment that had once seemed elusive. Through it all, I learned to embrace my vulnerability, to accept that it's okay not to be okay. The journey of healing was not linear. There were days of overwhelming sadness and days of triumphant joy. But each step, each breath was a testament to my resilience. As time passed, the pain of betrayal faded into a distant memory. Ava and Alex became mere footnotes in the story of my life, a painful chapter that had closed. In its place, I wrote a new narrative, one of empowerment and self-discovery. I found beauty in the broken pieces of my past, using them to build a future that was uniquely mine. And so, as I sat on my balcony, watching the sun set on the horizon, I realized that I had found something far more valuable than revenge. I had found myself. It's in the quiet of the evening, with the sky painted in hues of orange and purple. I made a silent vow. I would live each day with purpose and passion, embracing the journey ahead with an open heart and a resilient spirit. Just for I was no longer the woman who had been betrayed. I was a survivor, a warrior, and the architect of my own destiny.